This should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
It's time to get out of pocket. I am your host, Michael Davis, on this TGI Friday lineup on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. YouTube is the big one. You guys can have your comments pop up right here on the screen. We want you to interact with us. We want you guys to direct the conversation as we go on about this day. I am joined by two very special friends. We got Carsen Williams. And Carsen, I was sharing the story about speaking to your class at App State with a buddy of mine yesterday. I was like, wow, how that changed my life. Just like going to eat at a local restaurant changed mine when I met my co-host, Cat Cave, my wrestling commentating tag team partner, podcast_Smitty, Shannon Smith. Very thankful for the just random ways I met both of you. And now we get to talk basketball live on people's lunch break. Derek Pauly join us saying, afternoon, gents. Derek Pauly having a really professional attire in his profile picture. Shout out to Pauly and Pauly's Pick'ems. Me and Shannon are a part of that. He's always been great supporting the show. And while I'm not wearing a suit today, I am wearing Miami Heat stuff, repping my own team, even though they are not in these NBA finals. Last night, we had game one of the NBA finals. We had about a week, about 5-6 days without NBA basketball between the conference finals and the NBA finals. And the Boston Celtics came out and just punched Dallas in the mouth. But Dallas did not give up. The lead was once at 29, then dropped all the way down to 8, and then Boston ended up pulling away again to make this a 107-89 victory in game one of the NBA Finals. Guys, this was an interesting game, had its ebbs and flows, but I wanted to know your instant reaction of how this game one played out. Carsen, I'll start with you. If he turns himself off mute.
My bad. I
think we lost connection to Carsen right there. Shannon, what's your thoughts?
Well, I was very surprised with the margin of victory. Now, Boston has been playing really, really good basketball consistently over the years. I mean, like over the season. I'm sorry about that. Over the years too. But over the course of the season, they've probably been the most dominant team in the NBA. More dominant than Denver, more dominant than Dallas. They've been the most dominant team consistently. But for them to go out there and just beat a Mavs team that has just basically survived and conquered in almost everything they've done in the Western Conference was big. Like, they won. And when you talk about they won, man, they won. What's up, Carsen? You're back, man. I didn't.
Yeah.
You, man, you're good. But
Okay.
It happens to me. Let me tell you, it's happened to me so much on the show, so I get it. But it was the margin of victory was what got me. I figured that it would have been a closer game because with the way that Dallas has shot the ball. But this whole thing about Dallas and Luka not playing defense consistently might have bit them in the butt because the Boston Celtics played very good defense last night. Porzingis with 3 blocks. Jaylen Brown had 2 big blocks. They were blocking shots all over the place. The defense was just really, really superb. And Dallas didn't stand a chance. Like, Kyrie Irving only had 12 points and shot 0 from 5 from 3. And he's been the guy that's been bouncing off of Luka. Luka had 30 points, but he pretty much looked around like, where's my team?
Yeah, it was very interesting watching Kyrie Irving try to play his offensive game, but Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all taking turns to limit Kyrie's effect on this game. Carsen, what was your overall takeaway? You've had some Carsenites here in the channel. joining you. Derek saying that Shannon was absolutely right. Can Derek Pauly say the same thing about you, Carsen, with your game one takeaways?
Yeah, I appreciate my Carsenite staying with me even through my technical difficulties this morning. But yeah, what Shannon hit, I thought was pretty much absolutely right as well. I think it really just spoke to the talent differential in this game. Dallas had 4 players in double digits, only 1 player above 20, and the Celtics had 6. And that really shows. I mean, outside of Luka and Kyrie, like the Celtics have the best 7 players in this series, really. Like the difference between Drew Holiday, which is Boston's number 5, and PJ Washington or Derrick Jones Jr. or Derek Lively, whoever you say is Dallas's number 3, is just the gap is huge. Talent margin immediately is just overwhelming, which is why I said that Celtics would win this in 6. But yeah, the defense was really from Boston was really what did it. They held Dallas to 89, which is insane. Dallas had a 77.1 half-court offensive rating. That's awful, especially for Dallas, who has been really, really good offensively. Kyrie only had 12. Luka only had 1 assist, and Dallas only had 9 assists in total, and then Boston had 9 blocks. I mean, it was just a complete domination from Boston. Dallas just couldn't get anything. So moving forward, Kyrie's going to have to be better. The problem is they can't get anything in the paint because they don't like Lively and Gafford and Kleba. None of them are like they're not scorers, you know, so they're not going to really get anything in the paint that isn't handed to them. And Boston's perimeter defenders are just incredible. Drew Holiday, Derek White. I mean, even Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, like they're all incredible. It's really hard because Luka is unstoppable, but outside of that, what are you really going to do? So yeah, I mean, I think that Boston is just going to have to play bad if Dallas is going to win.
Now it's interesting you bring all that up because, I mean, I've been on record on the show saying Luka should have been the MVP. Some people disagree and their opinion can be wrong, and that's okay. You're all entitled to your wrong opinions. And some people are, Derek Pauly agreeing with Carsen too. So not taking a shot at Derek Pauly for this one, but a lot of people are like, Luka shouldn't have been the MVP. Luka's going to show up. Whether you want him to or not, he's almost unstoppable like Nikola Jokic. Like you're just going to expect him to drop 30 on you, maybe even more. I'm amazed Luka only had 1 assist last night, but I dropped the best players in the NBA Finals on our Instagram account at outpocket_TRSR. I'm putting that on the bottom ticker. If you guys want to follow it while we're streaming live, I'll give you a shout out if you do follow us while we are on this live broadcast. But I was like, Luka's number 1, and there's a huge gap. But then you have Jason Tatum at number 2, Jaylen Brown at number 3, Kyrie's at 4. The only other Dallas Mavericks I put on that list was Derek Lively at 7 and PJ Washington at 9. Now, I got feedback from Trevor Everett of the 2 Pointers podcast, really great friend of our show, who was like, Derek White should have been above Drew Holiday. I'm like, well, Drew Holiday plays like really good lockdown defense that we saw last night. But here, Jason Tatum didn't really show up in the way a number 2 player on this list should. He had 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. He was 6 of 16 from the floor. He had 6 turnovers last night. And the Boston Celtics still won. Why? Because they still have Jaylen Brown on this team. They have the defense of Derek White and Drew Holiday on this team. They also had Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, I was going to say, you forgot someone.
Well, I didn't forget.
I mean, for real, they missed Porzingis so much, man. You could tell with 18 points in the first half.
Yeah.
Porzingis had 3 big block shots. Porzingis is the center, and he's the paint job for the Celtics, a paint job that the Mavericks don't have.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be hard for Dallas to do anything because Porzingis controls the paint. Porzingis can stretch the offense by shooting 18 feet away. Porzingis pretty much showed, and he even said in his post game, he was like, well, I feel good, but I had to go out there and play and see how I felt. And Porzingis played incredibly well. So I think he's all right. So
yeah. He's the X
If-
factor in this series.
Yes.
And
if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
well,
Oh,
you were out of pocket, Mike, for putting him at 7 on that list. I saw you put him at number 7 on the best players in the finals. Out of pocket. That's bad. Come on, man. That he's the X factor for the Celtics. He's the reason that they can be so dominant with his interior defense and the way he can stretch the floor. And he's like one of the best mismatch attackers in the entire game. And everybody's a mismatch because he can shoot over. He's 7'3". He can shoot over anybody. So like and Derek Lively can't stretch the floor, so he can camp in the paint. That's why they can't get anything in the paint. Neutralizes Kyrie's best game. Neutralizes Luka's best game. Neutralizes the Mavericks game completely. Really.
I was very critical of the Boston Celtics when the Boston Celtics got rid of Marcus Smart in the offseason. But I think this proved to be a better move to get healthy Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
That was something that the Celtics lacked, was the interior defense in the paint, and also a third guy to stretch the floor outside of Jason Tatum and outside of Jaylen Brown. So this proved to be the smart move. I really didn't think that. I thought that this was going to assemble the team, disassemble the team, because they play such good team basketball. But the Celtics are probably the best team basketball team that you're probably watching in these playoffs right now.
Well, I mean, especially because you have Porzingis, and I was listening to all those guys, and you're forgetting one. I'm like, no, I'm not. Boston just has so much depth, while the Dallas Mavericks have went through these entire playoffs with just Luka and Kyrie, and then Lively showing up in particular moments, PJ Washington as well. But I mean, this is a 2-man team versus a complete squad.
May I pose something to you guys before we move on? I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we've been talking about the Western Conference being the dominant conference right now. You had OKC, who was the number 1 team, lose to a 5 seed. The defending champions lose to a 3 seed on top of that. But then that said 5 seed that won the Western Conference goes and gets their doors blown off by Eastern Conference squad that many thought they could not follow up the next year. Is there tide turning in the NBA?
I think that these playoffs have been so matchup dependent. I still think that the Nuggets are the best team in the NBA. They lost to the team who was built to beat them. And then the team that was built to beat them couldn't beat the Dallas Mavericks. It was all so matchup dependent. Nuggets didn't match up well with the Timberwolves. Timberwolves didn't match up well with the Mavericks. The Thunder didn't match up well with Mavericks. It was all so matchup dependent. So the best team didn't necessarily always win. And in the East, it was just one team just blowing everybody else out. Nobody else had a chance. I still think if you put the Nuggets against this team, the Nuggets are probably winning. I don't think KP can guard Jokic like that. And I mean, Jamal Murray is going to have a hard time. Maybe not. Maybe I'll take that back. Maybe
he would have a hard time.
Maybe it would be a 7-game series, but Jokic would still do his thing. But yeah, I don't think that there's a tide turning. In fact, I just think that the West is getting stronger. But it's also the West is really playing chess right now with everybody. Everybody is building their team to beat a different team, and it just is all going to depend on how the seeding plays out. And that's what happened this year.
I think there's an overreaction going on right now that the Dallas Mavericks got blown out. They can't hang with Boston Celtics. There's 2 factors that we need to consider. One, Boston can get lazy. Boston can overlook their opponent.
They got lazy last night. They got lazy towards the tail end last night. They took a 29-point deficit, and Dallas turned it into 8. If Dallas would have been hitting shots, if Kyrie Irving would have been a second option to Luka Doncic, that could have probably been a debacle on the side of the Boston Celtics, because the Celtics have done that before. They allowed a Philadelphia squad to hang in the balance. And they allowed an Indiana Pacers squad, even though that defense could not stop a tricycle, they let them hang in the balance. So I mean, yeah, you're right.
And it's true. Like if this was in Dallas, I would have expected the Mavs to complete that comeback if they had their home crowd behind them as they made that comeback. But the second thing we got to realize, in every series but one, the Dallas Mavericks have been blown out that game one of the series. The only one that didn't happen was the Minnesota Timberwolves. So for
Right.
Dallas, they can readjust, and they've proven they can readjust, and they can make the adjustments moving forward to compete in these NBA finals. We are in store for a really great NBA finals. We had Luka Doncic be the first player to make his finals debut since Tim Duncan in '99 and had like a 30-point double-double. Like we had like crazy stats. Jaylen Brown, the first game in his career of 3 blocks and 3 steals. Kristaps Porzingis, the ride he went on. Like there was a lot to be excited about from game one that gets me anticipatory for what's to come game 2 on Sunday. We're going to do our that aged well segment later on this episode, but I did want to touch on some news, and we are refreshing our browsers the entire day because the Los Angeles Lakers are meeting with a candidate from the college basketball ranks. They are meeting with Dan Hurley, the back-to-back win coach in UConn. He won back-to-back national titles with the team. Guys, I was on record saying about a month or two ago when we had the Everything College Basketball guys, Josh and Peyton Burton, doing incredible work. Josh just celebrated his birthday this past week. Shout, Josh, happy birthday. I was like, Dan Hurley's not leaving UConn. After just winning back-to-back titles, he's not going to leave UConn for Kentucky. And we got on this huge debate, like Kentucky's a blue blood, UConn's not, whatever. Okay? But Dan Hurley's actually interviewing for the Los Angeles Lakers job. And that brand is huge. Probably the best brand in basketball in any level of sport. Carsen, do you think there's a possibility that by the end of today, potentially by the end of this show, Dan Hurley's announced as the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers?
I don't know about the end of the show or the end of today, but I do think it's a possibility that he ends up there. Dan Hurley just has that that these coaches do, like that. He's crazy, really, and a lot of great coaches are. They're crazy about the game. And look, I like it. I think that Dan Hurley would do really well in the NBA. I know that the NBA and college are two completely different games, but I think Dan Hurley can adjust. And he's one of my favorite coaches in basketball, in all of basketball. And I think he could be great. And I mean, when you win two national championships back to back, you're already in that elite tier of college basketball coaches. I could see him staying and maybe trying to win a third, because then, I mean, can be argued for one of the greatest now. But yeah, I think he could go to the Lakers and do well. And I kind of think it works out really well for the Lakers, because if he doesn't do well, he's a first-year coach and there's that scapegoat. And if he does do well, then they just won. They're winning with a first-year coach, like it all like really, really works up with the narratives that the Lakers like to do, and Jeannie Buss and Magic and LeBron. I like it. I like the move. I kind of hope it happens. I really like to see Dan Hurley in college. I think that's kind of what he was built for, but I would like to see him in the NBA. I think he has potential to be one of those all-time greats.
And Carsen, right before I get to Shannon on this, like you brought up, he was built for being a young coach in college. Like the Lakers have a young core. They have Austin Reeves. They have Max Christie, their pick from last year. They have Rui Hachimura that they got in the trade. They have a veteran in LeBron James, potentially, if he stays with the Lakers. They got Anthony Davis, another star who's dealt with some injury history. Who knows if the Lakers are, going to cave to LeBron and draft his son and need somebody to help develop Bronny James. There's so many factors that play into this. Shannon, could Hurley be a good fit moving from UConn to the Lakers?
Before I answer that, first of all, I like pre-show. If anybody would have heard me pre-show, they would have thought that I was totally against this move. But the more I thought about it, I don't think that there's anybody else that would probably be able to tackle this monster known as the Los Angeles Lakers better than Dan Hurley. The man won 2 national championships, which is a big thing in this day and age of college basketball. It doesn't matter when. Let's just be real. It doesn't matter when. The fact that you went back to back and done it, with not a super marketable squad, like so forth. He's the only man who can save us from the LeBron show in LA.
The LeBron show that brought a championship in 4 years, yeah.
And I think
save you from that.
I think it's a good fit for Dan Hurley because I think LeBron is on the back end of his career. And I think Dan Hurley's probably gonna look at LeBron and say, "Look, shape up or ship out, and take these." And I want these young guys right here. I think he'll do it. Because I looked at this article that Dan Hurley talked about where he was saying how there are certain players that he will not recruit because the way their parents act. And I'll share that article with you guys like later on, or I could probably show it to you and you can share it on the YouTube channel, whatever. If you want to, MD, it's up to you. But I read that article and it really said a lot. Because he's looking at them and saying, look, this is my program. He will probably look at LeBron and say, look, this is my team. Mm-hmm. You can say whatever you want to. I know what you got. I know who you are. I watch TV. But they hired me. I've got this already. You don't. So this is my squad. I'm going to be here probably after you. So I think it's a perfect idea. Bless you. I think it's a good idea for him to take the job now. I think it is. I'm coming home to it. Good job.
First of all, I do want to say shout out Carsen. He unmuted his mic just to sneeze.
I thought that I muted it to sneeze, and then when I saw that I unmuted, and then when I saw that I muted it afterwards, I was like, "Uh-oh."
Oh, that muscle memory didn't work, man.
No, it didn't. Sorry, guys.
I just saw Carsen has mic muted, and then he unmutes it. Achoo!
That's why I had to say. That's why I said, "Bless you."
Sorry, guys.
So I heard it.
I'm surprised our comment section isn't doing the same, but Shannon, thank you for blessing Carsen right there.
It's the teacher in me, man. It was the teacher in me. I'm mid lesson, and then like someone says, "I might bless you," and then go back to it. So
Here's why I love being live is you get those moments. Like if we were like recorded, Carsen would be like, edit that out. But no, we get live, which means we get Carsen sneezing, we get my lighting all doozy woozy, and it's a great time.
Yeah.
Now there is one thing. We're having some fun in the comments.
Thank you guys.
Looking like a mark. God bless you, Carsen.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh man,
I hate to put a damper on this, but I am going to argue with Shannon just a little bit. Also, shout out the repronunciation or respelling of Carsen's name. Very, very good. Don't we hate autocorrect?
Yes.
Also, like when I was getting Valentine's cards, I hated Valentine's Day, but none more than when I was in elementary school. Cause like everybody would like be required to bring in Valentine's Day cards, even to all the people they didn't like. And so you could tell when nobody was like, I didn't talk to them or whatever. And they would like bring me my card and they would like misspell my name EAL. And I'm like, bruh, like for real. Like, come on, who spells it EAL? I mean,
that's got to be intentional.
100%. We had like legends like Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, and you're going to spell my name EAL? Like, come on, man.
If it makes you feel better, you knew you were not liked if you got a Valentine's card and no fun size candy. You knew that's my throwback right there from when I was in elementary school. You knew you weren't liked when you didn't get candy with your Valentine's card. They had to do it. So they were like, here, have a Valentine's card. But everybody they liked got candy and you didn't. So
man, I wanted the fun size candy. But Shannon, we're going to get this back on track. Shannon, I did disagree with you on one thing about Dan Hurley coming in and having all the power. If LeBron's on a team, he has the power. I mean, we might as well name LeBron James the coach because he has gotten everybody fired except Eric Spoelstra because Pat Riley told him, you're crazy. So, like, if we're thinking that whoever comes in as the head coach has the power and he's not just a scapegoat if LeBron doesn't perform well, then we're mistaking ourselves.
Not so fast, my friend.
Yep.
This is what you have to understand here is that the coach that came in and coached LeBron, most of those coaches didn't have championships. This man got 2. Yeah, I know they're in college. I get it. But this man has won. So this is a leverage and a leg that he has to stand on right here. Look, I've won where I've been, back to back. Sit down and listen. Or, as a matter of fact, you don't have to listen. But I'm not going to treat you with any type of, I'm not going to treat you with kid gloves just because of who you are. I'm not doing that. I mean, he's not going to come in here and like bully LeBron. Now, he's not going to come in and bully with him. I don't expect that. I expect for him to go in here and say, I'm going to set the ground rules and this is what it is. He's going to come in here like, he's not going to be a totalitarian. I don't expect that. He's not going to Bob Knight his way into Los Angeles. He's not going to do that because that is a way to get fired. That is a way to get thrown out. But he's going to go in there and he's going to set some ground rules like he should.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with both of you guys here. I think that everybody overestimates the power that LeBron has when it comes to coaching. He's already said that he's had nothing to do with the coaching decision this time. And we saw throughout the season that Darvin Ham was the coach. He was making terrible adjustments. That's not what LeBron would do. LeBron is like, everybody knows LeBron to be one of the smartest basketball players who's ever lived. You know, everybody respects, if nothing, his basketball IQ. So we know that he wouldn't make these decisions. He said in the middle of the game this season, like, what am I doing? I'm just standing in, like, you have me just standing in the corner. Like, what am I doing? That was Darvin Ham. We saw Rui Hachimura not being played and Taurean Prince being played too much. That was Darvin Ham. Like, Darvin Ham made a lot of decisions. Yes, they all respect LeBron and his input, but coaches are still coaches.
Yes.
What I am worried about is Dan Hurley coming in and being, and I don't think he will, but a first-year coach can really be intimidated by like especially you've never coached NBA before. Like, you could be intimidated by LeBron a little bit. Like I said, Dan Hurley has that crazy in him that I don't think it will let him be intimidated by LeBron. So I think that he really could come in and take the reins, and I don't think LeBron would necessarily have any problem with that. But at the same time, I do think that Dan Hurley would be like, I am a first-year coach, and LeBron is in year 21, 22 now, and like, let me listen to this guy who has won multiple championships and gold medals and been coached under some of the best coaches in the world, like Spo and Greg Popovich and Coach K and the USA teams. Like, people respect LeBron and respect his input, but coaches are still coaches.
It would be in his best interest, Dan Hurley's, I'm saying, for him to be a friend of LeBron than to be an enemy. So I don't expect that. That's not what I mean when I say that. I do think that there's going to be a level of respect, to be honest with you, because if you look at some of these coaches that have been successful, there's been a level of respect to them where their players are involved, but yet still these coaches understand that these are my best players. And I think it would be in my best interest to not poke the bear or to make this guy feel like he doesn't fit in my scheme. So that's what I look at with Dan Hurley. I mean, he is crazy. I mean, and that's what makes him a great coach. You know, he has that crazy aspect to him. And I think that LeBron might like that if we're talking about it, because some of the stigma of some of these coaches is that they didn't take enough risk when they had LeBron on their squad. They didn't take risk. I think Dan Hurley is a very risky coach, but he's not a coach that's risky in a dumb way. You know, he knows his limitations and knows what he's got, and he knows what he can do with his pieces. So he'll take a risk with what he has, but he's not going to be one of those coaches that's dumb and taking a dumb risk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We'll have to see if it works out. We're continuing to refresh our browsers, see if Dan Hurley, he has not taken any deal to be the Lakers head coach, but he is meeting with the organization today. We are up against it. Right before we go off air, say who you got in game 2 on Sunday night and by how much. Carsen?
I'm going to say the Mavs just because the Celtics are cursed in game 2s. But I think after this game 2, it's going to be a gentleman's sweep.
Gentleman's sweep. Shan, what do you expect to happen game 2?
I think Boston takes it 2-0 to Dallas, where they'll drop to game 3.
So I'm the tiebreaker. I'm going to say that it's really, really tough to win Boston. I think we get a really close game down to the wire. Boston by 2 to win and take a 2-0 series lead back to Dallas. But that is it for Out of Pocket. You can follow us on the Instagram at outpocket_TRSR. We're going to be following the NBA Finals and everything else throughout the rest of the weekend. Having really good comments pouring in. Thank you for Nada showing up. Sean, if we let Dan Hurley walk out of LA office without signing contract today, it'll be Coach K all over again. Sean, very big supporter, friend of the show. He'll be back on, of course, on the panel. But we got to get out of here, get back to work. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back Monday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time for your lunch break. Stay tuned to all our socials. The broadcast industry is in a boom period right now, and we're excited for the stuff that's going to be coming up here in the next few weeks. And so stay to our socials to be a part of that. But for Michael Davis, Carsen Williams, and Shannon Smith, this has been Out of Pocket with Michael Davis, and we will see you back on Monday.